Bonjour Lionel, il est déjà 7h10.
Wake up, it's 2027.
Ne traînez pas, vous avez une réunion à 9h ce matin.
In 2027, Sarah takes care of everything.
Pour le petit déjeuner, qu'est-ce que je vous fais livrer?
Un pain au chocolat.
Au regard de vos dernières données santé, je vous conseille plutôt des flocons d'avoine au lait de soja.
Sarah is a virtual assistant who knows exactly what's best for you.
Pour votre partie de squash, j'ai sélectionné Emmanuel. J'ai croisé vos données. Cette fois-ci, vous êtes sûr de l'emporter.
Ok, Sarah.
Pour votre dîner en tête-à-tête ce soir, j'ai réservé ce restaurant. Il est nouveau et déjà très bien noté.
C'est parfait, Sarah, merci.
Everywhere you go, artificial intelligence, like Sarah, predicts your needs and does the work for you.
Bonjour Lionel, nous allons commencer. Je vous ai préparé un compte-rendu de nos dernières réunions.
With all of these machines working for you, isn't life wonderful in 2027?
Merci Orange Tout.
But let's not get carried away. Before Sarah changes your life forever, there's another story to tell, one with less special effects. This story takes place behind the scenes of those businesses who are working to invent our future.
Il faudra juste arrêter de filmer parce que c'est des bureaux de travail en fait.
For now, it's hardly this wonderful world where machines are working entirely for mankind. In fact, you could say it's exactly the opposite.
Humans are involved in every step of the process when you're using anything online. But we're sold as this miracle of automation.
Google, Facebook, Amazon, Uber. These digital giants are using a completely invisible workforce to keep their applications running.
There we are. With technology, you can actually find them, pay them a tiny amount of money, and then get rid of them when you don't need them anymore.
A workforce that is disposable and underpaid.
On a very good day, I could do $5 an hour. On a really bad day, I could do 10 cents an hour. I mean, it's...
Is it possible for you to pay less than the American minimum wage?
I'm not sure we want to go in this direction yet.
Whilst millions of men and women are training artificial intelligence for next to nothing, others are being hired and hidden out of sight to clean up social networks.
You must have been told by the recruiting team that you cannot mention that you are working for this project, okay?
We went undercover as one of these web cleaners, working as a content moderator for Facebook.
Oh putain. Il se fait décapiter le mec. Oh putain.
There's a few things that I saw. Those things are going to stay with me because I remember them as if it was yesterday.
To meet the workers hiding behind your screen, we're taking you to the factory of the future, the digital economy's best kept secret.
You know, it's just like a sausage factory. They don't want people to come in to see how the sausage is made. I mean, I think it's just that simple.
To delve into the mysteries of artificial intelligence, we're heading to the west coast of the U.S. Here in San Francisco and the Silicon Valley, the world of tomorrow is being developed. It's the high-tech hub of giants like Apple, Facebook, YouTube, Uber, Netflix, and Google. We have a meeting of Figure 8, a business specializing in artificial intelligence that primarily works with Google. The founder, Lucas Bewald, agreed to spend the morning with us.
Lucas. Hello. Hello, Lucas. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for your time.
Of course.
I know you have a busy schedule.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
At 38 years old, this Stanford graduate has already worked for the likes of Microsoft and Yahoo before founding his own company. Once his microphone is on, a quick tour of their startup-style Californian office space.
This is our best dressed employee.
Cool and relaxed.
This is probably our worst dressed employee.
Do you play Babyfoot?
I think I'm pretty good. I don't know, maybe. This is kind of our eating area. This is actually where I like to work. So my coffee got cold.
And in the reception area, an impressive display.
So these are some of our customers. And the different things that they did with our products. So here's Twitter. We helped them remove a lot of people that were kind of bullying on their website. You know, American Express. Is that in France? I don't know. Yeah. You know, I feel especially proud of, you know, something like Tesco, right, is able to use us to improve their online website to show better search results so people can find the items that they're looking for.
And I don't see Google.
No, I don't know. Do you know how, like, why some of these get up here?
Frankly, we just stopped.
Oh.
Because it was getting out of hand.
This is Mr. Brown, head of PR.
But this is just a good sample.
After our visit, the founder explains the enigmatic name, Figure 8.
We call our company Figure 8 because we think of it as a loop. And the loop really has these two parts, right? There's the humans that do the labeling, and then the machine learning that learns from the humans, and then it goes back to the humans for more labeling, right? So we think of this kind of like beautiful loop, right? Where humans do the best things that humans can do, and the algorithms, the artificial intelligence does the best things that the algorithms can do. And we put that together, and that's why we call it Figure 8.
To get a better understanding of why AI needs humans to function, we stop joking around and get out the computer.
So here's an example. You know, a lot of people these days are trying to build cars that automatically drive. Like, for example, Tesla has a system where you can drive around in a car. But of course, it's incredibly important that these cars don't run into pedestrians. So the car camera just sees something like this. So it's really important that they build reliable systems that can identify people. And the way that they learn to identify people is looking at lots of pictures of what the car is seeing from the camera, and then actually literally labeling where the people are. So from this
Here's a real example of how it works. If you want to teach a self-driving car to recognize a pedestrian, a human like you or I, it first has to identify pedestrians from photos, and then feed this information to the AI. And this process has to be done over 1,000, even 1,000,000 times over, which can be very time-consuming. This is where Figure 8 gets involved, using real people who are paid to do this work.
So the task here is to look at this picture and then label where the people are.
And so you get paid for this?
You get paid to draw boxes around the people.
How much?
You know, I'm not sure this task, but you know, maybe it would be like, you know, maybe 10 cents per person that you draw a box around.
Who do this job? Do you have employees doing these jobs and labeling people?
Yeah, so it's contractors in our network that log in and do these jobs.
What do you mean by contractors on your network? What kind of people?
So it's like people that log into this and then want to work on these tasks.
How many people work for Figure 8?
In this capacity as labelers?
Yeah.
So again, people can kind of come and go if they want to. So there's maybe around 100,000 people that kind of consistently work every day for certain use cases that we have. But then there's also millions of people that log in from time to time and work on tasks.
And where do those people live?
They live all over the world, actually. So they live all over America, and then they live all over the world.
So who are these millions of people who are being paid to train AI technology? In order to meet these contractors, as Figure 8 calls them, we leave Silicon Valley and head 500 miles north of San Francisco in Oregon.
There we are. Aha, success.
Jared Mansfield signed up to Figure 8 3 years ago. He now spends several hours a week working for them. Every day, the company offers a list of tasks that he can complete for money. For example, training search engines.
For this first one, it's showing examples of how to do it. The query is mac and cheese pierogies. And the two results are Annie's homegrown organic mac and cheese and Annie's real aged cheddar microwavable macaroni and cheese, which are neither of them are pierogies. So it's saying that one would be equally bad matches.
What's the use of doing that?
A lot of it, I think, is to train search algorithms. So like when someone sits at their computer and types a product, the algorithm will be able to determine with more accuracy what product it is that that person's looking for.
For every 10 answers, Jared earns less than 1 cent. To get an idea of how much money he can make, we leave him to work for 30 minutes. He's answered 180 questions over the course of half an hour.
How much you earned?
15 cents.
For how long?
A half hour.
Which would be 30 cents the hour.
Yeah, which are pretty definitely not a livable wage, that's for sure.
Do they have the right to do this?
I mean, they have the right to do whatever they want. I'm the one coming to them for little tiny bits of coins on this website. And there's no contract between me and them.
No contract, no salary, no guaranteed minimum wage. These ghost workers are paid to train software and robots using only one rule: supply and demand.
It definitely feels like I'm part of this invisible workforce that is kind of made up of just random people throughout the world. And together we're kind of training what's going to replace the workforce as a whole eventually.
Jared is very philosophical about the idea. Still, he can afford to be. To earn a real living, he has another job selling chicken in this supermarket for a little more than $1,500 a month. Figure 8 is just what he does on the side to earn a little extra cash. After leaving Oregon, we decided to take advantage of what we'd learned in America and sign ourselves up to Figure 8 to train artificial intelligence. On the site's welcome page, small tasks are proposed at 1, 2, or 12 cents. We chose this as our first task, drawing boxes around objects in images. Following the instructions, it took us several minutes to draw around 10 objects and earn 2 cents. On the list of tasks, Figure 8 also offers evaluations of search engine answers, Jared's task of choice. We could also listen to conversations and confirm if the recording features a man or a woman's voice, and if they are speaking English.
Hi, is James there, please?
We work for hours without ever earning more than 30 cents an hour. It's difficult to imagine that there are people who work on these tasks on a full-time basis. We're in Maine, on the east coast of the United States, close to the Canadian border. We've arranged to meet with one of the net's ghost workers, the human side of the figure-8 loop. Her name is Dawn Carbone. She is 46 years old.
Bonjour. Hello. 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 Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for your welcome. It's beautiful.
Yes,
I've never seen so much snow.
Oh, we had a blizzard not that long ago, and then we got more snow. And it's also, I think, -7 out there.
Dawn is a single mother. She lives here with 3 of her children.
This is what subsidized housing looks like up here. I mean, it's not bad for public housing.
She lives and works here, working on the figure-8 site all day.
I'll turn it on, like I said, right before 7 o'clock. You know, get the initial stuff done. I'll turn this off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and then turn it back on at 9 o'clock at night. So I'll say 8 hours minimum. So I bust my butt though. Like this would be the dashboard. And you can see I've done 6,445 tasks.
Since when?
3 years. See these different badges?
Yeah.
You start off, you have no badge. And you have to do so many questions and get so many right. And then you get your first level badge. And then when you get to level 3, you have access to virtually all the tasks that are put up.
What is your level right now?
Right now, I'm on level 3. I've been level 3. I've been level 3 for quite a while.
Dawn is considered a high-performing worker. Figure-8 therefore offers her more work than a beginner, but it isn't necessarily more interesting.
I have to put bounding boxes around people. I'm not really keen on this job. The biggest problem is trying to find jobs that are viable. And right now, I don't have many.
And it's definitely not better paid.
On a very good day, I could do $5 an hour. On a really bad day, I could do 10 cents an hour. I mean, I have had some really, really good days until February. Yeah.
Do you think this is a fair payment for what you're doing?
No. Not at all. But I live in northern Maine. We get a lot of snow. There's a very low job market, and it helps me as a stay-at-home mom. It helps with added income. Yeah.
Dawn prefers to work from home because her youngest daughter, Jane, has autism.
Here you go. What happened?
Dawn wants to be there to take care of her when she gets home from school at 3 p.m.
So how was school? Good day or bad day? Really a good day? With her autism, I always have to be ready to jump in my car and go get her from school. I mean, it could happen one day out of the week, or not at all, or 3 days out of the week. And the school is very understanding, so I mean, I have to take out the whole week if I was working out of the home.
Dawn receives $750 in government aid every month, which isn't enough to cover all of her bills. This is why she signed up to Figure-8. By working 8 hours a day and 5 days a week, she says she earns on average $250 a month on the site. On Figure-8, the pay is non-negotiable. If you refuse the work, there will always be someone else to take it. There is an unlimited supply of these ghost workers coming from all over the world. It's probably why Lucas Bewald is so happy. But he isn't the only one to take advantage of this phenomenon. Various other businesses propose these sorts of repetitive and underpaid online tasks, the biggest amongst them being Clickworker, an Amazon Mechanical Turk, a platform provided by Amazon and its boss, Jeff Bezos, who invented the concept in 2005.
Think of it as micro work.
Microworking is a growing concern for the ILO, the International Labor Organization, a UN agency in charge of protecting workers' rights across the globe.
Hello, Janine. Thanks for your time.
Janine Berg is the resident expert on this subject at the ILO, who speaks to us through Skype.
With globalization, you can see the emergence of kind of a global labor force. Here, it's the next step. It's really the service industry that can break up work into kind of very short, little succinct tasks, and then divulge it to workers all over the world who compete for the jobs, do the jobs. The price of the wages are driven down because of this global labor supply, and the technology has facilitated this, and it's cheap. That's the main advantage.
Janine Berg wrote a report calculating that microworkers earn on average $3.31 an hour without any rights in return. Workers' extreme vulnerability is the key to Lucas Bewald's business model. After months of investigations, we found this video from 2010 that sums up his view of the labor force.
Before the internet, it would be really difficult to find someone, sit them down for 10 minutes and get them to work for you, and then fire them after those 10 minutes. But with technology, you can actually find them, pay them a tiny amount of money, and then get rid of them when you don't need them anymore.
While we were interviewing him, we wanted to ask him if he still shared the same opinion. But when we start talking about work conditions, the Figure 8 founder seemed to lose his sense of humor.
Do you have an idea of the average revenue per hour of your contributor?
You know, I'm not sure. It's totally dependent on the task that someone puts in, and it's hard to track time on the internet because people can walk away from their computer and come back, so I don't know how much people generally make.
There was a report on ILO saying that on average the people working on crowdsourcing were paid $3.31 an hour. Would that be consistent with what you pay?
Again, I'm not sure.
Okay. Is it possible for you to pay less than the American minimum wage?
It could be possible.
So this is legal?
I'm not sure we want to go in this direction yet.
You know what? Can we take us a different direction? I mean, I'd rather just focus on more AI than anything.
Yeah, but this is the whole thing. I mean, this is about crowdsourcing as well. So I have to ask questions on crowdsourcing.
Oh,
because
I thought it was more high. I prepped him for more of an AI conversation than a crowdsourcing conversation.
No, I'd rather, I think we should. I don't really want to do this.
No?
Yeah, we can find you someone else to talk about this stuff.
Okay, so you're not comfortable with this part of the
no.
discussion?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're right. It is an important part of the conversation, but I think it's just, it's not the AI conversation that I prepped him for.
We don't have time to pull up the video. Lucas Bewald makes a hasty exit without saying goodbye and leaves us alone with his head of PR. One last chance to ask how the business treats these contractors, as they call them here.
When I was working on this, I found many people complaining, being disconnected, and
I actually have to go now too. So it's 11 o'clock.
Okay. So you don't want to speak about human in the loop?
That's not my role here. So. All right, I think we're done.
So only artificial intelligence, no human?
Well, that's what we were prepared for, so. Sorry.
Okay, it's a pity.
To get some answers to our questions about Lucas Biewald and his views on his workers, we thought we'd try a different tact. On the day the Figure 8 founder made his statement on disposable workers, there were other entrepreneurs amongst him, as well as a researcher, Lily Irani, just on the right. "10 years after the conference, we find Lily living south of Los Angeles, California. Lily Irani teaches at the University of San Diego, and one of her specialist subjects is the working culture of high-tech business. We're lucky she has a good memory.
Do you remember if somebody reacted after this sentence, which is very brutal in a certain way?
To be honest, the reaction was nothing. I remember that panel, everyone went up to him to talk to him, and 2 or 3 people came up to me to talk about the ethics of this form of labor. This is a room full of highly educated people in San Francisco, and nobody batted an eyelash.
How do you explain that?
You know, the kinds of people who have access to these spaces are the kinds of people who never worked in a situation where they wondered if they could make rent, or they never worked in a situation where, you know, somebody gets sick and they can't pay someone to go take care of them, so they have to kind of take a really bad job at home. And they have no connection to the kinds of situations of the people that are willing to do this work. It's what happens when you go to schools like Stanford and Harvard and Princeton that tell you you're the smartest person and you're going to be a future leader and you've been chosen because you're special and that you have the power to change the world.
A Silicon Valley elite who is out of touch with the rest of the world. This is the key to understanding Lucas Biewald's logic, although it's not the only part.
These workers are invisible by design. You can write code and send your work out and never talk to anyone. It's designed so you can get the work back on a spreadsheet if you need to. You just see these letters and numbers of identifying the worker. You don't see a name, you don't see where they live, you don't see what their situation is, you don't see, unless you keep track of it yourself, have they worked for you before or not?
Do these ghost workers really know who they work for? Have they ever heard of Lucas Biewald? We showed them the footage of the Figure 8 founder talking about their work.
With technology, you can actually find them, pay them a tiny amount of money, and then get rid of them when you don't need them anymore.
Giggling over paying people pennies and yeah, bye-bye. Okay. Now I'm going to start arguing like I do about the AIs when they get me agitated.
It's kind of surprising, I guess, a little bit, to see they're so openly talking about that view that they have of the workforce. I guess it doesn't really surprise me that much, but yeah, it definitely kind of sucks, I guess, when they could be paying them a lot more, or at least showing some appreciation, or maybe even some discretion.
Basically saying in person, you hide somebody for 10 minutes and fire them. This way you don't have to look at the person and you just goodbye. So that's kind of just, it is kind of, the fact that the head of the company is, people are that disposable, that really isn't right. I don't like that. So I like what I do when I have something to say, and I will say it. So I'm not disposable.
Amongst this invisible workforce hiding behind your screen, there are those who feed algorithms for next to nothing. It's the people in charge of tidying up the web, the social media cleaners who work on sites like Facebook or Instagram. These workers are never mentioned in the slick presentations of the Silicon Valley CEOs.
I started building a service to do that, to put people first and at the center of our experience with technology, because our relationships are what matters most to us. That's how we find meaning and how we make sense of our place in the world.
Today, with 2 billion users, Facebook no longer has anything to do with Mark Zuckerberg's initial vision of the site. With violent videos, hate speech, and pornographic images, more and more content has to be deleted. And it isn't always robots doing this job. There are, once again, humans hidden behind the screen.
Determining if something is hate speech is very linguistically nuanced. I am optimistic that over a 5 to 10 year period, we will have AI tools that can get into some of the nuances, the linguistic nuances of different types of content to be more accurate in flagging things for our systems. But today, we're just not there on that. So a lot of this is still reactive. People flag it to us. We have people look at it.
These people are in charge of sorting and managing content on the network. Facebook call them content reviewers. According to their site, Facebook has 15,000 workers doing this job across the world, in Ireland, Portugal, the Philippines, and the US. We contacted Facebook, but the company refused our request for an interview. So, in order to meet these moderators and understand their role, we identified Facebook's main subcontractors. Multinationals such as Majorel, Cognizant, or Accenture. We found this job offer for a content reviewer for the French market in Portugal. Gregoire is one of the journalists in our team. He responded to the ad and was offered the job. Before taking off, he received his contract, which included his monthly salary, 800 euros, a little over the minimum wage in Portugal, with a food allowance of 7 euros 63 cents a day. Facebook isn't mentioned once in the document. Even when directly asked, Accenture refused to give the client's name.
I was just wondering, now that I took the job, I'm going there, I'm doing it. I was just wondering, if I could know the name of the company I'm going to work for.
No, we cannot reveal the name yet. It's for one of our customers, but we are not allowed to say the name.
This is where Gregoire will be working, at the Accenture offices in Lisbon. Before getting started, our journalist was sent to a welcome meeting. The footage is a little shaky, as Gregoire is filming with a hidden camera.
Hello. I'm having a meeting with Accenture at 9:30.
Gregoire isn't the only new employee. 12 other people are starting the role at the same time. Another French person along with some Italians and Spaniards. An HR representative is running the welcome meeting.
Welcome you all. My job as career advisor is to help you in all the relationship with Accenture, okay?
After the vacation documents and social security paperwork, the small group finally find out which company they are working for, but it's top secret.
You must have been told by the recruiting team that you cannot mention that you are working for this project, okay? The client is really very demanding. You cannot mention anyone that you are working for Facebook, okay? If someone asks you where you work for Accenture, okay? We have this code name that is CEO. So if I'm talking to some colleague from Accenture, not from this project, and he asks me where do I work, I cannot tell that I work for Facebook, okay? This is not allowed. It's completely like confidential that Facebook is working here at this facility, okay?
Code names, confidentiality clauses, and a complete ban on cell phones. Facebook gives you the life of a secret agent for $800 a month. And if you're the chatty type, the following argument should shut you up pretty quickly.
You have like an agreement and you cannot break that agreement because by law, we can punish you by law, it's confidential.
Cleaning up social media is a bit like doing your family's dirty laundry. It has to be done, but nobody talks about it. Why so careful? What does the job involve? We continue discreetly with Gregoire. Before becoming a moderator, Gregoire has to follow a 3-week training program. Moderating Facebook's content doesn't only involve deleting violent videos or racist jokes. It's a lot more complicated. At the moment, the algorithms can't handle everything. Every decision must be justified using very strict rules. This is what we learned during the training. Every day is dedicated to a different theme during the program. For example, nudity, violent images, or hate speech. On the agenda today, dark humor and jokes in bad taste.
We will remove a violation if the person that you see in the image, so you need to have a real person, is visibly affected. If you are making fun of the event, then it's going to be in the mark as whole. What do we do when there's a mocking of the event?
Here's an example of an inappropriate joke about 9/11. It may seem over the top, but there are dozens of rules like this for each category, which can be difficult to get your head around. Take nudity, for example. Depending on what part of the body you see, or their position, the moderator can't always make the same decision. Here's an example from the exercises to better explain. Gregoire decided to delete this particular photo. But according to Facebook's rules, he was wrong to do so. In the feedback session, the trainer offers this explanation.
If we cannot see, and his head is not here, then it's ignored. It's in between her boobs. So if I don't see directly the contact with the nipple, it's nothing.
You know, that's exactly why I am having so much trouble to understand things. You have an artistic picture of a photograph of a woman and you show a tiny nipple on it. And so on one hand, this is a delete because we have 100% uncovered nipple. On the other hand, you have this almost porn video, picture, and you don't delete because it doesn't fit the rule. That's exactly why I
Yes, but you have also a problem because you're still going from what you think in your decisions. And we're in school to learn rules.
Applying Facebook's rules without questioning them is the #1 rule, a principle that will be drilled into you all day, every day.
There has to be a line, and they drew it around that. Okay? We just need to respect it, and we just need to apply it to do our jobs.
Sometimes we'll find disagreements, but I mean, this is to the job, because this is not my social network, it's theirs.
A training program with the end goal of turning you into a machine.
See you later.
Pedro worked for 6 months as a content reviewer for Facebook at Accenture. He agreed to respond to our questions, but only if he remained anonymous. 2 years after leaving the company, he still remembers the numbing side of the role.
You have to play by their game, or else you won't have a job at the end of the month. And it got to a point where I just felt I was a robot and just doing as many pictures and videos as much as possible, just because that's the only thing I can do. You're just there with numbers and clicking enter, numbers, enter, numbers, enter.
The hardest thing for Pedro is trying to forget everything that he saw on that screen over 6 months.
We're not prepared for it. We're not mentally prepared for it. All these stuff, they don't really give us the input before, and it just comes to you as a shock. It just comes to you as like a wave. Here, have this in front of you, and you can't really say yes or no to it. If you give me €1 million or €1 billion, I wouldn't go. It's not for me. I don't know.
What Pedro described to us, the wave of shock that washes over you unexpectedly, is exactly what happened to Grégoire. It started around the 5th day of training, during the practical exercises.
Putain, il va se faire démembrer le mec. Oh putain.
A stream of horrific images and unbearable videos that must be watched closely in order to make the right decision, according to Facebook's criteria.
Oh putain. Ils sont en train de la brûler vive quoi. Oh putain. Ils sont déconnés.
The same horrific scenes are unfolding on his neighbor's screen too.
C'est quoi, c'est un mec qui se fait ouvrir le ventre? Excuse me. May I take a glass of water?
Ouais, je suis pas loin de vomir. Là, je viens de prendre une pause parce que j'ai vu des corps démembrés, calcinés, des gens qui se jettent du haut de tour pour s'écraser par terre. Et ouais, la nausée, le corps qui tremble, les mains qui tremblent, psychologiquement, c'était vraiment très dur aujourd'hui.
It's like this on a daily basis for Grégoire and his group. Luckily, they can always rely on the useful advice of the trainers to feel better.
If you feel uncomfortable with the content, please warn me and we'll do a little pause, little break, go outside, do the Macarena, okay? And then we'll come back.
If the Macarena isn't quite enough to cheer you up, the business also has psychologists available for the most traumatized moderators.
Oh, sa mère. Oh, putain.
On this day, a video lasting several minutes brought the violence to another level for Grégoire.
Il se fait décapiter le mec. Oh putain.
During the break, everyone tries to shake off the shock by discussing the grim video they've just witnessed.
A girl was with 2 guys and they were playing with the gun, and suddenly the girl shot the guy, but it was it was and Jonathan was close it, yeah. At the moment I feel very bad, I don't know, but I think that the feeling didn't last a lot of time, It's at the moment I feel very, very, very sad, I don't know, but then I can continue.
Grégoire realizes the extent of the damage this job can cause when talking with a former moderator who is now a trainer.
And I have trouble on the street because I just see people being hit. In my brain I see so many accidents that I cannot cross. Cage Sodré, fuck off, everybody who's running across the street. I cannot anymore.
Oh yeah,
yeah, so
you can't take it?
Yeah, it's a kind of a mini PTSD.
You've got that?
Yeah. I mean, I will take medication, but I know that I have to be like this.
Oh, yeah?
I can't watch people running across the street anymore.
You're still doing this while you have PTSD?
There is a purpose. I do feel every day I'm cleaning the trash from the internet, And okay, I will watch it, but at least I know that I'm going to watch it. Someone who's 14 years old is going to get that and not know.
Even 2 years after quitting the post, Pedro still has very vivid memories of certain videos.
there's a few things that I saw. Those things are going to stay with me because I remember them as if it was yesterday. It's very emotional sometimes. I remember sometimes people used to they were working, being productive, and suddenly they just stand up and run out of the room. That's okay, because sometimes you're
Trauma built up, and for Pedro, left him feeling helpless.
But if you see someone getting murdered, the only action you take is delete, for example. You just erase it out of the platform. You don't really go into depth of calling the police, for example. It's you never really feel content with what you're doing. You're just going round and round in circles and just bombarded with all these stuff. So it's a mixture of emotions that you go through in one day, 8 hours of work.
How many were you when you started?
We were 30 when we started, 30. From that 30, it started just decreasing month by month until now there's only 3 people.
Pedro claims that a lot of people struggle to deal with the role and end up quitting. To understand what Pedro went through and what Gregoire and his colleagues are currently experiencing, we met up with a psychiatrist. Professor Thierry Bobet is a specialist in post-traumatic stress disorder. For example, he works with police officers who have been involved in terrorist attacks. We show him the footage we filmed.
Des images potentiellement traumatiques, comme celles qui sont décrites ici, peuvent avoir plusieurs effets. Chez certaines personnes, ça va être simplement des effets d'anxiété. C'est-à-dire que ça peut vous rendre anxieux pendant un certain temps, parfois de manière importante, avec des attaques de panique ou des... Bon. Mais dans un certain nombre de cas, il peut y avoir vraiment ce qu'on appelle une effraction traumatique, c'est-à-dire que une de ces images ou certaines de ces images vont se loger au plus profond de nous et revenir nous hanter sans cesse. Et ce qui est particulier dans les troubles post-traumatiques, c'est que quand ces images reviennent sans cesse, elles produisent sans cesse chaque fois la même détresse. Et donc, c'est une détresse qui dure et qui ne s'éteint pas, si vous voulez.
We also talked to him about the famous confidentiality clauses imposed by Facebook.
La culture du secret et l'interdiction qui est faite d'en parler à des tiers est un procédé, en fait, qui appartient au registre de ce qu'on appelle l'emprise mentale. L'emprise mentale, c'est quelque chose qui est utilisé par différents mouvements, comme par exemple les mouvements sectaires. Et ça rend d'autant plus vulnérable à des impacts traumatiques.
Anxiety, trauma, stress. Cleaning up social media comes at a great cost. Gregoire decides to quit only 2 weeks later, still in his training period. He received his paycheck just before leaving, his hourly pay written at the top, €4.62 gross. This is a tough pill to swallow for his colleague.
I was earning more in the ice cream shop that I was working.
The ice cream shop?
Yeah, I was
Oh man, that's bad, right?
After our experience there, we contacted Accenture. Their response was a brief email that didn't once reference Facebook. It did, however, contain this phrase: "The well-being of our employees is our priority." To finish our tour of the internet's trash cleaners, the invisible workforce behind your Facebook or Instagram feed, we had one last meeting. Sarah Roberts is the leading researcher specializing in those who work as moderators. She is a key figure in this field. We met her at the university where she teaches in California. She presented us with an analysis of the rise and development of content moderation over the past year.
We are talking about a scope and a scale of magnitude that has not been seen before. billions of things shared per day on Facebook, hundreds of hours of video uploaded to YouTube per minute per day, and so on. The response has continued to be, we'll put more content moderators on it, which means that continues to exponentially grow. It has gone from a next to nothing kind of line item in the budget to being a massive, massive cost center, meaning it doesn't actually return revenue. It's not like a new product. It's just seen as an economic drain. And the way we manage that problem is by pushing it onto some low-wage workers and to do it as cheaply as possible, because again, that stacks up. When you double your workforce in 2 years, that it does not come for free.
This is why companies like Facebook use subcontractors. But according to this researcher, this isn't the only reason.
It's about labor cost, but it's also about creating layers of lessening responsibility between those who solicit this kind of work and need it, and those who do it and where they do it. They remove themselves, they put themselves at a distance from the workers and their conditions, and it's not just a geographic distance, but sort of a moral distance. So when that content moderator some years later alleges harm or is having trouble psychologically or emotionally because of the work that they did, then it may be possible for that company to disclaim responsibility for that, even though ultimately they really are responsible because they asked them to do that work in the first place.
Despite these precautions, 3 former moderators filed lawsuits against Facebook in the US a few months ago. All 3 were working under subcontractors. All claimed to be victims of post-traumatic stress disorder. The American company refused every request we made for an interview. They did, however, send us an email to explain how Facebook, with its partners, pays great attention to the well-being of content moderators working on its platform, which is an absolute priority. To finish off, here's some of the latest news from the sector. While these ghost workers are left in the shadows, it's business as usual for the companies working in this new sector. A few weeks after filming, Figure 8's founder sold his company for $300 million. Well, at least now, he has good reason to be happy.